Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kostubidas. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Monday's Makeover Monday. Make yourself over. You're a mess. You were a mess last week, people. Just kidding. You did good last week, and this week, we're going to do better. You know that I had to do this, Kostuba, but on the message board it says Professor Snooky's father was a professional auctioneer. She probably knows all that type of, hey, 7, 10, do I hear 10? 10? I bet you could do that, Professor Snooky. Kostuba, good morning. How's your Monday going?
So far, so good.
All right, it's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to it. It's Wisdom of the Sages week. Everybody's going to show up. A lot of Zoomers are showing up. I'm going to get to meet a lot of others. Satchidananda Swami is going to be here. A lot of our locals are going to be here. We're going to have big kirtans. We're going to have great prasad. You know, Mara's cooking a lot of the prasad here. She came up with a whole great menu to really make it a Wisdom of the Sages a week to remember.
Sushi? Vegan sushi?
Vegan sushi. Oh, you put her on the spot, and now look. That wasn't on the menu, and now she's got to rethink the whole menu.
Is that hard to do for a large group? Yeah.
Time consuming, not hard, but time consuming.
You need a team for that.
You need a sushi team. It's a vegan. We're not slicing up fish here, people. Anyway, we had a good weekend. It was great. Beautiful weekend. My daughter is officially riding a motorcycle. That's real. That's real.
What kind?
Oh, she's riding my motorcycle around.
What is it, a BMW or something?
A small BMW. Nothing fancy.
Small one.
It's small. It's not one of those rock and roll BMWs. It's a...
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she is. She's doing good. Everybody say a prayer for her right now. I will say that if I die on that motorcycle, I am chanting the entire time. I'm going right back to the spiritual realm. The motorcycle, because I'm like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I'm chanting like every Ayendra melody I know while I'm riding that motorcycle, and I can sing really loud on a motorcycle. You know, you can actually get really. What's that called? What's that?
Inside the helmet, you're singing.
Yeah, I'm just singing. I'm just singing loud, cruising around in the forest. Oh. How are you? Oh, everything good?
We don't have to just talk about nothing in these times.
It's not nothing, man. It's called friendship.
Okay.
Give me a break. We don't have to talk about nothing. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Business.
Well,
it's all business with Kostuba.
It's not like there's like thousands of
I
other
just want to see
people
how
listening.
you are.
There's thousands of other people listening. But let's get on with it, Raghunath. Let's get this thing started. We're entering a new chapter. Not even a new just a new chapter, like a whole new section of the Bhagavatam.
A whole new section that deals with heavenly planets, distance between planets, hellish planets, hellish punishments. A little fire and brimstone in here, if you want the God honest truth.
What about abductions?
Abductions, the whole thing is sort of abductions, truthfully. The whole Bhagavatam is it's alien visits, isn't it?
Well, there's a difference between a visit and an abduction. Big difference.
I'm trying to think who was abducted in the Bhagavatam.
There are certain abductions.
There are abductions.
There have been abductions. We'll get to that later.
I'll think about it. Think about if you can think of an abduction in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, there are abductions.
There are abductions.
Okay.
Okay.
Arjuna was abducted.
Arjuna was abducted.
Mahabharata.
Yeah. There you go. Rukmini was abducted.
Krishna's father was abducted.
Rukmini was sort of like trafficked.
Rukmini was abducted.
She was stolen. I can't say that was an offense. That was an offense. She was not. Well, she was kidnapped.
She even asked to be kind of snatched.
Sita was abducted. Thank you, Timothy Tucker.
Sita was abducted.
Sita was there's the whole thing is alien abductions. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you don't believe in alien abductions.
Okay, Mara, any announcements today?
Yes, we're back to recovery group meetings today at 1 and 2 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon and 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday.
Okay. Now we got a nugget today, Raghunath. I want you to enter this nugget in this new section of Bhagavatam in this new week with enthusiasm.
I'm enthusiastic.
Okay, and then let's hear this nugget. I really like this nugget. I think it's been helpful for me in my life.
Oh yeah, I love this nugget.
Okay.
Just
That's
kidding.
what I want to hear.
Just kidding. Okay, this is a famous story.
Is it?
Well, it's famous. It's one of those ones you always heard living in the ashram.
Yeah.
Once there was an old man and a young boy who were traveling with a donkey. That's how people traveled in the old days, walking around with a donkey. The young boy was leading the donkey, and the old man was riding on its back. When they passed through a small village, some of the townspeople called out, "Look at this old man exploiting that poor young boy. What a rascal. That old man, he's riding very comfortably on the back of that donkey. And the poor, tender young boy, he has to walk. Very, very bad behavior." So after they passed through that, that hurts. You know, you're just going along riding a donkey because you're old, and everyone's in the village is mocking you. Yeah. And the guy felt bad.
Okay.
He said, so after they passed through that village, the old man said to the young boy, I think it's better we swap over. Otherwise, when we come to the next village, they're going to abuse us again and shout at me. So why don't you get on the back of the donkey and I'll walk?
Okay.
No big deal, right?
Yeah.
But when they arrived at the next village, they were also criticized. Look at that selfish little boy taking advantage of his old grandfather. That poor man has to walk while this healthy, young, strong boy rides on the back of a donkey. What is this world coming to?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they didn't win that one either.
Okay.
So now they're both confused. Confused and without knowing what else to do. The poor old man had another idea, and he sat on the donkey along with the boy and continued on their journey. They're both on the donkey now.
That should do it.
Yeah, that should do it. Now, who are they going to criticize? In the next village, the comments were worse. Just see these horrible, cruel people. Oh, this poor, poor donkey. He has to carry those two heavy men. The animal humane society should do something about this atrocity.
Well, that didn't work.
Humane societies even back then. When they got out of that village, they talked again, and they thought, you know what we're going to do this time? Let's both walk. Then certainly in the next village, they won't criticize us. But when they came to the next village, the people said, look at these two idiots. They have a perfectly strong, healthy donkey, but still they walk. What fools! Finally, the old man concluded, actually, it doesn't matter what you do. People will always criticize. Boom!
Boom.
What do you think about that, Kastuba?
Well, I think there's a very important lesson in life there. Yeah, I think it's a very important lesson. Whatever we do, right? If we're, there's a balance in life that we need to find, right? There's something about, sometimes you hear people saying like, you just got to do what you want to do and don't worry about what others think.
Yeah, right? Just do whatever you want to do.
And then there's other people
but that's
that are
not
like just
good.
Overly concerned about what others think. And
what do you want me to do? What would you like me to do, Kastuba?
But the fact is, whenever this it becomes, I think, especially this kind of thing gets brought up when you start to pursue spiritual life in a way that maybe the people around you aren't doing. Because when you make that step, when you begin to buy into all of this, when you begin to say, you know what, this is making a whole lot of sense. I'm not my body. You know what? I'm not my mind. You know what? In a sense, this world is illusory. You know what? There's got to be something beyond it, and maybe I shouldn't just follow the path that's been laid out for me to, just go to school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, and grow old and die. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that in one sense, but there's something more that's got to be found, and that means I may change my habits, I may change my lifestyle, I may associate with people that other people think are weird. We have to be ready. When we do that, we have to assume that people are going to criticize. Right? You have to just take it for granted that there's going to be people, maybe even people that are important to you or have been important to you in your life, that are going to criticize.
Sometimes we've gone to university, gotten jobs, married somebody just to appease somebody else.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Move to a certain state or not move to a certain place I wanted to go. Maybe not taken a year off from before college, or gone to a particular college. I've met I've met people before that have just gotten into a whole career path just because that's what their parents wanted them to do, and they didn't even want to do it.
For a lot
So
of
the
people,
punk rock in us, we're like,
totally.
no, we can relate to this. We're going to do what we want to do, but it's not that either. And this happens to be with a lot of people in our age group who's got kids who are like leaving the house. And a lot of you out there, your kids are growing up and you're leaving the house, and you finally feel like a relief. I did what my parents wanted me to do. I did what my professors wanted me to do. I did what my boss wanted me to do. And then I did whatever my kids wanted me to do and drive them on. Because stupid, you're missing out on this. Driving kids everywhere all the time. It is the most, you just start to feel like I'm nobody. I am just,
when we were kids,
I'm just an Uber driver.
Our parents didn't drive us anywhere.
My parents drove me everywhere, man.
They did?
Everywhere. And there was no cell phone, so they would just sit in the car while I was in Boy Scouts.
I was just able to walk or ride my bike wherever I needed to go.
In the car while I was like, sit in the bench in Little League. They just sit in the car waiting for me. Oh, my poor mother, sitting in that car.
You didn't play like Little League like in some nearby place that you could just walk to or something?
No, nothing was walking.
Yeah,
Everything was driving. They're just sitting in the car. Anyway, my point is there's a lot of crew. Anyway, we're doing what people need us. And so when we're in even parents, you think, well, I have a little more freedom. No, you got your boss, you got your spouse, you got to please them. You got your kids. You're like doing backflips for kids. And so we're at this age where the kids are now growing up and you feel like, you know what? I want to do what I want to do. I want to do what I want to do. And the interesting thing is, if you're listening to this show, no, you don't get that option anymore. There's something even much higher than that. It's what does God want you to do? And you know what? There's something that God wants you to do. I want everybody to think about that. If you're in that space where your kids are moving out, what is your calling now? Is it just to get cushier, or do you have a deeper calling? And it's time to step up to that. And interestingly enough, how exhausting it is driving kids back and forth. It will be exhausting trying to serve God with a lot more of your focus, but it's like a refreshing, exhausting. Like, for example, everybody's coming over to Super Soul this weekend, and it's a lot of, I'm seeing Mara going through like notebooks and writing things down. And I said, listen, I know this feels a lot like a catering event where it's like gets riddled with anxiety, but it's different. It's like transcendental anxiety because you're worried and concerned about how are the devotees going to feel? How are the people coming going to get a higher taste and a higher? It's a transcendental type of woo, 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 woo. Here comes Kastuba. Woo, 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 woo,
I don't want to cause Mary any anxiety.
No, it's a wonderful anxiety. We're happy for it.
You know that story about Prabhupada, where I forget who it was, but one of his disciples was coming forward and said, Prabhupada, we have all these responsibilities, in our service, because sometimes, it's like if you're creating temples, there's all kind of legal issues. There's, all this stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
And they're saying it's like, when I go to meditate and, it's like, it's hard to have my mind focused. I'm in anxiety so much of the time. Wouldn't it be better if I just let this stuff go? Prabhupada said that type of anxiety, the anxiety that you endure when you're doing devotional service, he said that is Krishna anxiety. It's a different type of anxiety. He says
that's what I said. I just said that.
Hold on. I'm saying something more.
Okay.
We're all very proud of you. Very good.
Well, I'm just saying I'm thinking like Prabhupada.
Yes, you are. And he said that is Krishna anxiety. And then this is something that I never forget. He says that is Krishna anxiety. And you should purchase it at any price. You like that?
What do you think about that, Miss Mara?
In other words, it's the most valuable thing in the world to give yourself in that way. Take on that type of anxiety. Purchase it at any price, Raghunath.
There you go.
But in any case, what this, part of the reason of sharing this nugget is that idea that particularly when you begin to take up spiritual life, you're going to hear people criticize. Well, you know what? People can criticize no matter what. So don't worry about that. Do what's right.
There's a thing from the Old Testament too. It's like I've got great work to do and I'm not coming down from the mountain or something like that. It's like we've got when you really get dialed into your offering.
Yeah.
Let the world praise you or let the world hate you. You don't care anymore. Yeah. Those are the people to worry about because they actually make a difference because they're not going to stop.
Right. And we're going to read today the first chapter. We mentioned last week that we needed a new strategy for the kind of these next upcoming chapters, the rest of the fifth canto, because a lot of it is going to be long lists of names. This person's son, he had 9 sons named, and then you read all 9 names, and then
it's like a family trees. You're going through people's
you're going through
Vedic family trees,
or measurements of mountains, measurements of oceans, measurements of planets, measurements of distances. It's like you get long list of measurements. We're going to hear descriptions of the heavens. We're going to, all these different things. But within these verses, rather than spend weeks with long list of measurements or long list of names, we're going to summarize a lot of that and just focus in on a key verse here or there. Some of the chapters, it'll break into different really cool prayers. We'll dig into those. So as we go by, we'll be summarizing and choosing a few things. But what we'll choose from the next chapter that we're going to focus on has to do with the idea of it's saying that there's a way to please everyone, right? That there's a way to please everyone. And I don't know. I think we need to talk about what that means. I'm not even sure what it means, but we can discuss it. I would like to hear what you have to say.
Well, I do think this is the way to go about it because it's going to get, for the sake of doing a podcast,
as you said, for the sake of doing a podcast,
I dropped my entire computer. I think I've done that before. For the sake of doing the podcast, to go through all these little details, it's going to be sort of like a snooze fest. So we don't recommend that. If you like to go through all those details, we recommend you sort of do it on your own.
Well, here's what I would say is you do it with someone really quick. I don't feel like I have the knowledge to make this relevant to our listeners, right? But it's all very relevant.
Yes, you need a good spiritual scientist to go through every little detail.
Yeah. And maybe the second time we do Bhagavatam, we'll be better.
We'll be more scientific.
Yeah, we'll be ready for it.
Yes, but I do think it's a good idea to really highlight and just give the curve of the story.
Yeah,
and give the cliff notes of where we're at.
Okay,
and then
and that way we are doing it. We are covering it.
Yeah,
it's not that we're not covering anything.
Yeah, there won't be a blackout spot where you just feel like like you've been abducted. What happened? You picked me up and I was taken away and then dropped off in the 6th canto. Now where am I? It won't be like that. By the way, the message board went crazy with examples of abductions. Kostuba. People
I'm
put
sorry.
up
Oh, yeah,
the
abduction
message board
scenes.
went crazy with examples of alien abductions in the Vedas.
Well, I'm thinking of Nanda Maharaj who got abducted, right?
Yeah, he got
Sometimes these alien
abducted.
abductions are underwater.
Yeah, well, aliens
Arjuna.
also live underwater
Yeah,
too. People think
there we
aliens are
go.
above; they're also below. Ever hear
Okay.
the hollow Earth theory?
Oh, yeah. So many theories, Raghunath.
They're all theories, but so is like we're the only living species out there.
Okay.
That's a theory too. There's bacteria, there's living entities in clouds. Do you know that?
Well, it's said in, is it Bhagavatam? Where does it say it? That the living entities are everywhere? I forget. I should go find it, but maybe American can Google that. Google like Prabhupada, the living entities are everywhere. Something like that.
Sarva, what is it? Anyway, she's off doing some
Oh,
marathon.
what happened to Mara? She used to be
She
right there with that
She used to
computer.
be sitting on my shoulder like a little parrot.
Okay, let's get into it, Ravi. Let's get into it.
Okay, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Okay, Raghunath.
Where is we?
You ready?
Yep. Chapter 15, Canto 5, Chapter 15, Text 1.
Well, hold on. Okay. So in this fifth, there's kind of two sections to this fifth canto.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we could step back and take a look at, again, if people want to Google this, you can Google like Srimad Bhagavatam family tree.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see as you go down the tree, it goes down different branches of this tree, different cantos go down different branches and cover different branches of these lineages, these dynasties, we could say, right?
Yep.
And so like in the one big huge branch that branches out in different directions is everything starts with Krishna or Vishnu, and then Brahma is born from Vishnu. We were reading about that back in the second canto. And then Brahma has many sons. And at this point, the family tree kind of branches out in two different directions. One direction, which we'll get to in latter cantos, is all of these different sages, Marichi, Pulasya, Atri, a huge extra branch comes down from Marichi, and a huge extra branch comes down from Atri. And Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam and all of those characters are coming out of these branches, But the branch that the first subdivision of the branch that we've been following is Svayanbhuva Manu, and he had 3 daughters and 2 sons. And one daughter was named Devahuti. In the third canto, we were hearing about her and her son Kapila, and that goes down some ways. She had, Svayanbhuva had another daughter named Prashuti.
Mm-hmm.
And Prashuti's daughter was Sati, and we read about Sati back in the third canto. Remember that, Raghunath? She lit herself on fire.
Yeah, great story. My kid loves that.
She married Lord Shiva. Then Prashuti had another daughter named Diti and another daughter named Aditi, and from those two come the Devas and the Danavas. You could say the demigods and the
demons and demigods.
Yeah, so we'll hear a lot of them. A lot from them as well. And Narayan Rishi also takes birth in that branch.
Magical twins.
Yeah. Then we heard about his sons. Oh, there's also Akuti, who I don't think we've heard much about her thing, but ultimately Krishna comes in her line, appears in her line. And then we heard about Uttanapad in the fourth canto, and the whole lineage that comes down from there.
It's Dhruva Maharaj
Yeah,
and friends.
Yeah, Dhruva. It had King Vena. Remember him? He was a real
That was
problem.
the
And
evil king.
yeah, then Prithu came from him.
We liked him. He was
Yeah,
good. He was in Avatar or incarnation.
yeah, and then Maharaj Barhishat. We heard chapters about him and how Narada was explaining this allegory to him. Then we heard about the Prachetas. And, you know, they go to the ocean and they see Lord Shiva. He gives them the prayers to meditate on. This is all fourth canto. And then Daksha takes birth there, or rebirth there. Now we're hearing about like the fifth child, you could say, or I don't know if he was fifth, but in other words, the one that hasn't been discussed, Priyavrata. We've been hearing about him in this fifth canto, and different kings that come down in his lineage, you know, sons and grandsons and great grandsons. We heard about in the fifth canto, we heard about Agnidra, we heard about King Nabi, and then at length we heard about Lord Rishabdev, right? Vishnu takes birth as Rishabdev in that lineage, and then Rishabdev's son is Bharat, and we just heard about 7 chapters on Bharat as King Bharat, as the deer, and then as Jadabharata, right? And what this next chapter does is it kind of just shoots down that line. Just mentioning people quick, but there's one king that's mentioned a bit at length, and that king's name is Gaia. Right? So I thought I would just read a little bit of the summary about what it tells about us, about this Gaia. And within this, the Bhagavatam is kind of giving us some indication of what good leadership looks like. Right? Okay. So here's some of the things that it mentioned that King Gaia was doing for the citizens. And we can understand that whatever your government is, whether it's a monarchy or whether it's a democracy or whatever it might be, this is what government is meant to provide, right? So it said that he provided this Maharaj Gaia, King Gaia, he provided protection and security for the residents. He saw that there was sufficient food. This was his responsibility to make sure everyone's fed, right? Sometimes he would distribute gifts to the citizens to satisfy them. Interesting, right? Now, if you read this, what does it sound like so far? You provide protection and security, you provide food, you give gifts.
Sounds like a parent or anybody it should be anybody sort of like in a responsible position.
Yeah, when you're in a responsible position, it's really almost like a parental kind of mood that's being, you know, love has to be there, care has to be there, protection has to be there, all of that. And even, you know, care to the level that he's giving gifts to satisfy them. He's, rather than hoarding the wealth, he's returning it back and seeing that people feel cared for, feel connected, feel happy. You know, he's very conscious of that. And, you know, I think this is, you know, it's not just world rulers that we're talking about. It's really on any level of leadership. You know, these are helpful guidelines. It says that he would occasionally call meetings just to satisfy the citizens with sweet words.
Oh, okay. Let's grab a meeting. Okay, what's the meeting about? I just want to tell you you're cute. You're cute. I really like you guys.
Yeah, you know,
that's sort of a nice king.
Yeah,
you know.
And then he also says this: he would give them good instructions on how to become first-class citizens.
You know, people liked. You know, kings have such a bad name growing up in America. We hate the concept of a king, of this person who's being worshipped, and you know, there's so much protest with the royal family, with the coronation. But people, if you travel in Southeast Asia, but I've even been in places in Europe where like they still like love the concept of having a king. And, you know, if you've been to Thailand, they have the pictures of the king everywhere. And even though they've sort of like taken away a lot of the powers, there is such a love for their king. We really demonized kings, and we told bad stories about kings.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the mature world. It shifts back and forth and back and forth. Right now, we live in a democracy, and
we do.
Well, apparently, kind of, sort of, not really, but But we've been trained from our youth to think that that's the right way to govern. That
Right.
everything's evolved to this point, and it'll never go back. No, it'll go back. It's just a matter of
It'll go
time
back.
before the democracy falls apart, and we say we just need someone that's like can lead this whole thing, right? Like,
You know, we have, and I'm not going to say his name, but we have a very, very wealthy and very, very intelligent friend.
Okay.
And he just looked at me and he's not really a devotee. He's just a friend of ours who studied yoga with us. And he said to me, he's like, this world's a mess. What they need is a king. And he was like, they need a king. He wasn't a Krishna guy at all.
Yeah.
He's like, they need a king who's just got good ethics that can lead them. They're destroying themselves and people
Yeah.
are just fighting different. They just need a good monarch. There is a defense for monarchies.
Well, and that's my point. It'll go back. These things shift back and forth, and once it goes back to the other thing, people think like, you would just let anybody choose who's going to lead everyone? Are you
Anybody
crazy?
could vote. What if the person was like, you would let like a criminal vote, or you would let like a person with really bad habits vote?
Person with no real education about
A
the
person with no
meaning and purpose of life?
education vote. Yeah, you should at least know what's going on. You guys don't.
Yeah, a person that had no training and what it means to lead. Right?
Why would you let them vote? They
Yeah,
like right.
Yeah, you have
It's
to
like let's everybody vote on how to heal me of pneumonia. No, let the doctors figure it out amongst themselves.
Right. Yeah. So arguments can certainly be made from both ways. Although I think like the way we grew up, our mind is trained not to accept those kind of arguments. Monarchy's seen as very backward. We evolved out of that. It makes us so. There's that saying people say that like democracy is
Demon crazy.
no, not that. I was saying from the other end. It's like the worst form of government except for all the others or something like that. In other words, it's got all its problems, but there's nothing better than it.
Right.
But
You know what I like about India, by the way, on a side squirrel, is that I love how like every city practically in India, they have these like they're coming from the Puranas. Like Gaia, of course, is a famous holy place called Gaia, most likely named after this king. It's in Bihar. It's where the Buddha got enlightened.
perhaps
It's like a holy place.
Yeah.
It's where the Palgu River flows.
Okay.
That's where the Falgu River flows.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about
In
that last
Bihar.
week, right?
We were just talking about the Falgu River.
Yeah.
Okay.
So chapter 15 continues. It says, so again, we mentioned he provided protection and security. He saw to it that there was sufficient food. He distributed gifts just to satisfy them. He would call meetings and speak sweet words, and he would give them good. And with that trust, right, with that love and trust, he would give them good instructions about how to become first-class citizens, how to cooperate together, right? Sometimes when I see our political situation now, Raghunath,
yeah,
I hear a politician speaking, oh, this one's going to run for president, this or that, and I see that they're not doing the very first thing that a leader has to do in my mind.
Which is what?
Bring people together.
I know,
right?
I know.
It's
and
like
if you're just putting your party, we're already a completely divided country.
Yeah, right.
How are we going to make a bridge here?
Exactly. That's exactly the point. It's like, hey, we're very divided. How are we going to work together? How are we going to find common ground? That's what a leader has to do, rather than just try to like completely tear down the other side and step up.
I know.
It
Especially
doesn't
right
work.
like now where like there's a clear it's not like this one guy over there is doing, it's like half the country is totally divided. You got to find some commonality here.
Yeah. Okay. So then now listen to this. It mentions something else here, Raghunath, about this Gaia and his kingdom and how he responded to the people and how the people responded to him. It said all the chaste and honest daughters of Maharaj Daksha, such as Shraddha, Maitri, and Daya, whose blessings were always effective, they bathed Maharaj Gaia with sanctified water. Indeed, they were very satisfied with Maharaj Gaia. So I read this as an indication saying that, hey, the women in the society need to be satisfied with the leaders, right? In other words, if that's an indication that it's a good leader, the women will feel like, yes, this is good leadership. You know, that's taken into account, and it has to be satisfied. And then it also says even this, Raghunath, and this is the kind of thing where like no one would campaign on this level.
Let me hear this.
The planet Earth personified came as a cow,
Okay.
and as though she saw her calf, she delivered milk profusely when she saw all the good qualities of Maharaj Gaia. And to me, that's indicating that when there's good leadership,
The earth becomes abundant.
the earth is abundant. It provides everything that one needs, right? That we do that we will have what we need. That there's plenty here. There's no lack of anything. We just need to live in the right lifestyle, in a lifestyle that pleases the planet Earth.
I like how you explain that, because the whole thing can sound too like this. What are you talking about? You and your supernatural political platform. But no, actually, there are certain things you can do and laws to put in place to make the world a more natural and healthy place.
Yeah,
it's obvious.
You know,
it's
like
obvious.
Like
eat
you and
food that grows in your area. Come on, people. Forage, grow things together. Don't monocrop all your things. Don't put pesticides and herbicides and fungicides to get more of a yield that's going to destroy your water table. Do I have to think of everything here?
No. Bhagavatam already has it.
I'm Raghunath, and I'm running for president.
But you know, it's like you and I were just saying, like, to someone coming from another perspective, they might say democracy. You're going to just, someone could choose a leader that has no training from their youth and what it means to rule. Well, you could get anybody in there.
Right.
You know, someone that has no idea how to relate to other nations, someone that has no idea how to care for citizens, has no idea what the priorities are.
Well, it's just like in India, or now all over the world. You get some like charming, bright-eyed, guy who claims to be a guru. You're like, you don't even, and if we don't even know the Vedas and we have no discernment, then he could just sell us, I'm a guru.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, he's a guru. All it takes is some charm, some branding, or some marketing, and you're a guru, you're a leader, but you might have no qualification. We need to have an education of before we start saying this is how we're going to arrange things.
Yeah.
Like, we need some people with a head on their shoulders.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's be honest. Like, this is patriarchal in the sense that it's like this men kings that are like ruling, but it's also giving, how you balance the male female dynamic in society is always going to be an interesting question, and different places do it different. And right now our society is in an experiment in how to do it. You have like Native American, like, kind of ideas. Like, I know that among some Native American tribes, the men were like the chiefs, but the women chose who would be the chief. It's just like different ways to understand how to balance this, and I think that's a really interesting idea. Like, if you had wise women, they would want to choose a leader that's strong, but they would also want to choose a leader that's fair, or a leader that's compassionate. It's like, it's kind of, here the idea is that it's saying that, it was men kings, but they were being trained from youth that all the women, as particularly these like leading women, right, need to be very satisfied with your rule. So it's showing here, you need to satisfy the citizens, you need to satisfy the women, you need to satisfy the earth. This was like that. This king Gaia, he was trained in this coming down in this lineage from his youth. When you take up this responsibility, you won't find happiness, you won't find success if you don't think this way. This is the way that you're meant to govern. Now it continues. It mentions that a Kshatriya or emperor, as a emperor, Maharaj Gaia sometimes had to fight with subordinate kings to maintain his government. But the subordinate kings were not dissatisfied with him because they knew that he fought for dharmic principles. Consequently, they accepted their subordination and offered all kinds of gifts to him. So in other words, he was expanding his kingdom. And when you expand your kingdom, it's done kind of like with a show of force in a sense. But it was almost, it's the way that I'm understanding is it was like he was expanding. It was almost like a healthy kind of imperialism where it's like, hey, the dharmic principles need to spread. We're here and this is what we represent. You should subordinate yourself to, and these kings would stand up to him and then say, well, you know what? He's right. He's good. He's powerful. He's a strong leader. He's a dharmic leader. We buy into it and we'll pay our taxes,
You ever think what it was like to be in a war back then? It's much different.
Sure,
it's like a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Like now you're in an armored vehicle and you're like pressing buttons and you have a little lens to look through. Back then you're like, okay, let's go. Get on your horse.
Well,
and you're like,
here's the most important thing.
You're hitting a sword and then you have a shield.
But there were no civilians involved.
And no civilians involved. Very good.
It wasn't coming through towns and burning them down or blowing them up.
Well, there were. I'm not saying just Vedic wars.
Well, because there were that this is the conception.
Yeah, in Vedic wars, that was the idea, and civilized cultures. But I think there was uncivilized people, like what we say uncivilized according to Vedic culture. But like there were tribes of Afghans and stuff like that. They would just pillage and that attacked India. But what to speak of in the American Revolution? Actually, well, let's say.
They would go out to the battlefields.
Yeah, they did. There's a bunch of guys. They even got a guy holding the flags and one guy playing the drum. Imagine if that was your job. Okay. You get a musket. You get a rifle. You get a rapid firing thing. Kostuba, you're gonna get you have to hold a drum. You're the drummer.
No, you get the flag and you run in front of everyone.
Oh, wait a second.
I got really good aim.
Don't worry. We got you. We got you from behind. Yeah, we're gonna cover you.
Okay, so he's satisfied the citizens. He's satisfied the leaders amongst the women. He's satisfied the earth. He's satisfied even the other kingdoms who've subordinated themselves to him. Next, he says all the brahmanas in his kingdom are very satisfied with King Gaia's munificent charities. Consequently, the brahmanas contribute. This is interesting.
Yummy.
So the brahmanas mean that they're these wise people. They live very simply. We heard that he got the blessings of these women, and it said that their blessings were, how did it describe it? Their blessings were always effective, right? In other words, simply their well wishes, simply their satisfaction. He's thinking, I need to win their hearts. I need to satisfy them. They need to feel about me that I'm doing everything right, and they need to be pleased. And then they bless, and that blessing is effective. May you live long. May your rule, be, please God. May you be a successful in your role as king, etc. He also wants the blessings of the brahmanas. That these are the other people you want. You want to be aligned with them. You want their hearts to be satisfied with your actions, right? And so, why the brahmanas? Because these are the people. They understand truth the deepest amongst the people, right? And it's exhibited in their lifestyle, how they're satisfied very simply, how they're not confused by material things in life and chasing after illusions, and so no, they're deep in their knowledge, they're deep in their wisdom. You want to satisfy these people. It says all the brahmanas in his kingdom were very satisfied with King Gaia's munificent charities. They saw, okay, he's not a greedy king, right? Granted, he's got power and he's got wealth, but he's distributing it in such a way where he's kind of looking after the goodwill of everyone. So they're satisfied. That's what we need in a leader. They're willing to speak out. If they think he's not doing a good job, they'll stand up and say, hey, no, you're not the way that we do nowadays. Now we do it. If you're in one party, you criticize the other party no matter what. Even if they're doing something good, you try to twist it and make it look like it's bad.
It's so bad.
Right?
So nasty.
You can't just say, you know what, A, B, and C, they're doing very good, but here's our issue.
They got to work on D, E, and F. They really got to work on D. It's like everything's bad. I will not highlight anything good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
party
the
politics.
Brahmanas, they're these honest, simple living, wise people. He says all the Brahmanas in the kingdom were satisfied with King Gaia's munificent charities. Consequently, the Brahmanas contributed
Hmm.
1/6 of their pious activities. They 1/6 of their good karma. Somehow mystically they could say, you get it as king. Whatever we've accrued through our simple living, our pure living, we give to you.
Interesting.
So he's getting blessed like that. Now
Interesting.
get this, we're going to say even King Indra used to come down. It mentions
Alien.
alien would come down and he would drink the soma rasa at King Gaia's rituals. In other words, this kind of heavenly
Who's
beverage.
Somaras would he'd bring it for him as a heavenly gift?
I would have assumed that you don't have to bring your own bottle of soma rasa. That it would be provided.
BYOB. Wait a second. But the King Gaia didn't have the Somaras. It's from
I'm
a higher
assuming
planet.
he did.
He had his own Somaras?
Well, it said King Indra used to come and become intoxicated by drinking large quantities of soma rasa. I can't say for sure, but
Very interested to see what Somaras is.
yes, it's some kind of beverage that is pleasant like an intoxicant, but it doesn't make you dull like an intoxicant. It kind of makes you clearer and more aware.
Mm-hmm.
It said also Lord Vishnu himself would come to these rituals, and he personally accepted all of the sacrifices made unto him in these rituals.
Can you imagine what it must be like when you're living such a life where higher beings are like, hey, let's go see what Dragonaut's doing. Oh my God, Indra's here. Hey, Indra, come. You know what I mean? You have drop-in guests from higher planets.
That's what he had. Aliens coming in.
But they're welcome. They're
Hey,
like
I got another alien
exciting. So
abduction.
alien celebrities.
Remember when Indra came down to Prithu's ritual and he
And
took the horse and
stole the
disappeared? That was an
horse.
alien abduction.
That's abducted a horse.
Yeah.
I'm
Now
trying to tell you the whole thing. Everything you believe, Kostuba, is alien abductions.
Not everything.
It's just you just never thought of it like that. I'm here to help you. Hear me.
There have been some abductions, but
Yeah.
not all of it. Not all of it. So, in any case, you know what? I was going to read the big verse, but I'll save it for tomorrow because there's not so much time left. But we got a nice, it kind of went down the whole list of these kings. We skipped over all those names, and
I like how you did it, and you went right to Gaia, and then we teased out Gaia and his life and his character.
yeah.
And we talked about that. I think this is a good way to do this, Kostuba.
And let's just review here. That what we're hearing here is a description of what good leadership looks like. And what does it look like? It's kind of what like a lot of these, in many ways, it's what a lot of these kind of modern books on leadership speak about, where it's like you're more like a steward, right? Than like
Right.
Like a power hungry person or something like that. Like really you understand that the role of leadership is service to others, conceiving of it in those terms, that I'm a servant, right? And recognizing who and how they should be satisfied, and understanding that this would be the training that the leader would get in youth, is that if you do this, you get these blessings. And if you don't do it, you accrue tremendous bad karma.
Yeah,
right?
but they're groomed to be kings their entire life.
Yeah. But this idea, right? This idea,
Yeah.
This is how the philosophy of karma, how the idea of karma would serve in good leadership, because as a boy, Guy is being trained that this role that you take is so important, and if you do it this way, and if you concentrate on satisfying these people, you'll accrue tremendously good karma. But if you don't, the bad karma of this of your village, or the bad karma of your nation, or whatever it may be, you accrue, you take it on from everyone. Like you take on a significant, like imagine if you accrued 1/4 of the bad karma of everyone just in your town, Raghunath. I mean, that would be pretty heavy.
Yep.
So what to speak of if you did it for a whole nation, a whole kingdom, So it would get them thinking of, in that service mentality, with deep conviction. And that the idea was with that kind of training, with that kind of attitude, you could have very good leadership. And so my point is this applies to all whether you're a leader, Raghunath, in different ways. Mara's a leader in certain ways. She's got her crew there in the kitchen. Everybody's got, most people are leaders on some level or another. Well, this is what good leadership looks like. It's not just for kings.
Mara's become a knitting leader. Have you noticed? I don't know if you know that, but there's like a whole crew of people knitting now, and she's like leading the way.
All right. I know.
I'm serious. They're all like, oh, I knit too. I'm going to knit on the show.
Yeah.
Keep knitting.
Okay. We got any takeaways for today?
Yes, you can have the mic, Miss Mara.
People will always criticize us.
Wah, wah. That I'm going
to
step up to what God wants you to do.
Step it up, people.
Okay.
Dial into your offering.
Oh, I like that. Dial into your offering.
Say that again.
Dial in to your offering.
Dial into your offering. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
what is my dharma? Right?
What is it now? Okay, and because it changes at different phases of your life, right? Just take care of these kids, get these kids away, get these kids dressed, get these kids in the car. That's one part. Now at a different phase of our life, what is my offering now?
Yeah, and not worry about necessarily if I get criticized. Yeah. It's my offering. I'm going to do it right.
Not all monarchies are bad.
Okay.
No, they're not.
A leader should unite.
That's right.
Yeah.
Live a lifestyle that pleases planet Earth.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Mother
I like
Earth.
that. Bringing it back to some environmentalism era. Good.
Thanks. Satisfy the brahmanas.
There you go.
And
we're at and already.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of recapping today, so I didn't get a lot of takeaways. And welcome the alien celebrities.
Welcome alien celebrities. By the way, we're joking. We say alien celebrities. David Murray wrote on the board, hey, don't say aliens. It's going to freak people out. But I like to reframe what we think an alien is. I do. We tend to think, these...
You want to bring on a new understanding of what it means to be an alien.
Yeah, come on. Have an open mind about aliens, people. Don't judge all aliens the same. They don't all look the same. They don't all have the same agenda, which is kidnapping, probing, wiping out your memory. It's not all about
mutilation, crop. What is it?
I didn't call that friend of ours who was abducted. I got to get to the bottom of that today. Maybe we'll bring him on the show. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us.
We're not doing the alien abduction.
Walk on Wednesday? Are you kidding? The world wants to know, Kostuba. You were like the CIA trying to withhold truth. You probably know who shot Kennedy and all these things. Secret handshakes of the the secret societies. We want the truth. We want these documents revealed, Kostuba. The people deserve to know.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, people. Thanks for joining us on this wonderful Monday. I think it's going to be a wonderful week this week. I'm excited to do Wisdom of the Sages live. When everybody's here in the living room. That's going to be quite, with Kostuba here at my side, sitting on my knee as I bump him up and down.
What?
They're going to sit on my lap and do the podcast. What do you think? Sharing a mic, holding pinkies under the table. What do you say?
I say we need to get a psychiatrist in here.